family syndicates, but on the Federal Reserve, the Bank of England, the Bundesbank, and others on record. And they go around and do the same thing they're doing to the West, they've done to third world countries in Latin America, in Africa, in Asia, and the Middle East. Though the Middle East, knew what this was and hasn't been as trusting, and so they're not being as hurt as bad by it, so they get the old-fashioned military invasion because they won't be economically captured. Serbia wouldn't take a globalist-controlled central bank, so you saw what happened there. They hired a bunch of Muslims to attack them. Then when they defended themselves, they said, oh, look, they're evil. And then, Al-Qaeda, the CIA's favorite attack dog, went in against them. So this happens over and over again. That's how we know that it's engineered. Then we have all their different IMF and World Bank documents where they talk about how they want to bring in this crisis to offer the solution. And George Soros is bragging about how he loves this. This is the culmination of his life. He's having a great crisis.
It is. It's rather amazing, but where I think they're going to stumble on this is I think most people around the world are recognizing that what turned an American economic downturn into a global catastrophe was globalism, that all this interlinking between countries. And I think when they stand up there and say we need more globalism as the solution, I think a lot of people are going to they're going to be very, very distrustful of this. They're going to balk. They're going to say this doesn't make any sense. If we've got a house on fire over here, let's not go down the street, chop up the other houses, and throw the wood on the fire to try and put it out, which is basically what globalism amounts to.
Absolutely. There's a host of issues to discuss with Mike Rivero today in the 40 minutes we have left with him. We're also going to be taking your calls at 1-800-259-9231. But, Mike, when we come back, what are some of the issues you think are most important you'd like to discuss today?
Well, obviously the torture scandal is not going to be going away anytime soon. We definitely need to deal with that. We definitely need to deal with the fact that the U.S. government's handling of the economy is exactly opposite what it's
are surrounded by harmful indoor air that can...
I'm just glad that I'm not buffaloed, bamboozled, hoodwinked, shanghaied, conned, manipulated. I'm glad that I know who the global star, what their plan is, and I'm aware of it. And I have a desire, as Thomas Jefferson said, to set bushfires in the minds of men and women everywhere to realize what's really happening. Yeah, the torture issue isn't going away because they tried to say it isn't torture, but everybody knows waterboarding and raping people's children in front of them, as the Army's own report admits, is torture. Now it comes out what we already knew. The Democrats were complicit all along in going along with this. Bush protects them when they're out of office. They protect him when he's out of office. And really, I think the illusion that was Obama is now imploding. Even Lew Rockwell was on the show Friday, and he said he had supported Obama early on, believing all his crap. You had done that. But I think now the fact that we've all been betrayed only illustrates how both parties are controlled. Where do you see this torture scandal going?
Well, it's going to keep on growing. It's going to go on festering. I think Barack Obama committed a major mistake by trying to block the release of these most recent photographs because, first of all, it shows he's an accessory after the fact in war crimes. He's complicit in the cover-up. And more to the point, now that he's gone to the Supreme Court and they've given him an additional 30 days to file documents regarding whether or not these pictures should be sealed, it gives the world another 30 days to let their imaginations run free about what the pictures might show. And after 30 days, no matter what pictures are released, people are going to assume they've been altered, they've been airbrushed, they've been faked, they've been sanitized. So it's just made matters all that much worse. We're getting confirmation reports from other sources that these pictures do indeed show the sexual assault of people. And the bottom line is that the U.S. government's credibility on the torture issue or the enhanced interrogation is that somehow these people deserved it and that somehow these methods were necessary to protect lives. But when you get into situations of children being sodomized in front of their mothers, nobody's going to believe that that had anything to do with protecting national security. And the bottom line is, behind all of it, the real core issue that is the most protected point in the scandal is the fact that, we've had Cheney's come out and admitted Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. We all know there were no weapons of mass destruction. The entire war in Iraq hinged on the claim that Iraq was aiding al-Qaeda. We now know that was based on a single confession extracted under torture. And as soon as the torture was over, the guy retracted the confession and said, look, I just said that to get you to stop. And now that, of course, people are trying to find out just how we got into Iraq, this individual has conveniently committed suicide, or been suicided. And so this is the real scandal behind it all. Forget all the sodomy and the rape and all the rest of the stuff, is the fact that the entire war in Iraq and 4,000 dead Americans and thousands more crippled was based on a confession extracted under torture. We had no real legitimate reason to be there. We have no real legitimate reason to remain. Why are we still in there? Why is Obama talking about extending our troop presence there, strengthening our troop presence there? Another $100 billion war appropriation just passed Congress. Why? What are we doing there? The entire war is based on a lie. We are the bad guys. We are the aggressors in this current war. And if you look at the history of the 20th century, every major war was ultimately lost by the country that started it. So guess where that sets us up? I'm not surprised our soldiers are committing suicide in such numbers. They know they're the bad guys.
Well, it's amazing to see this unfolding. And on top of that, the media is playing a game here when they act like they didn't know it was torture, and they have a debate about whether it's torture or not, or whether torture was ordered. We have all the White House memos, but before we had the orders, and before we found out Pelosi was in on it, and that she tried to lie about that, I remember in the 3 or 4 months after 9/11, Washington Post articles that are in my film Road to Tyranny, where they thought they had the public where they wanted them with 90+% approval rating, so they tried to sell pure evil at that point. And it said detainees' children being used to get answers. And then it said, we're, quote, putting pressure, and the article went on to say, torture of children in front of their parents to get answers. And so, and I'll never forget being out in Hollywood, because I was going on a national TV show out there. And I'll never forget being in a hotel room watching a press conference with Rumsfeld bragging how they were torturing. Why doesn't the media go get all those clips of him saying that and all those articles, and then there's no more debate, we arrest these people? Because the whole government, both parties are involved. We'll talk to Mike Rivero and take your phone calls on the other side of this long segment that's coming up. His website's whatreallyhappened.com. Our sites are Infowars.com and PrisonFund.com.